What if I told you that a single simple habit can revitalize your memory and mental clarity even in your 60s and 70s? It is not about a pill, it is not about your genes, and it is not about expensive procedures. I have spent decades studying the aging mind and practical ways people actually recover focus. And today, I will share a concise protocol that can make your days feel brighter and your recall sharper. Stay with me because I will give you 4 daily practices rooted in neuroplasticity that take less than 20 minutes total and that real people have used to notice change in as little as 30 days. Right now, nearly 80% of older adults report subtle declines in memory or attention that they assume are unavoidable. Someone once told me, "Doctor, I wake up with my to-do list in my head and by noon, most of it is gone." And that sentence changed the way I think about mental aging. This is not motivational fluff. These are mechanisms we can influence. If you want to get more of this content, subscribe and like so we can keep bringing practical science to everyday life. Ready? Let us begin by reframing the problem. Most people think mental aging is inevitable, like rust on metal. I prefer another image, oxidation of the inner life. Your brain can oxidize when routines, stress, and isolation slowly eat away at the proteins and pathways that make memory flexible. Neuroplasticity is the opposite process. It is the brain's ability to rewire, form new connections, and strengthen old ones. That capacity never disappears, but it becomes easier to ignore. Consider the difference between 2 neighbors both 65. One tends to try new recipes, calls a friend, learns a song. The other repeats the same afternoons, watches television, and avoids new conversations. The first shows signs of maintained vitality. The second often reports fog, forgetfulness, and a lack of zest. Neuroplasticity is what the first neighbor is training without knowing it. Scientific studies show that targeted novelty, social engagement, and regulated cortisol levels change brain networks and boost dopamine response to small rewards. Let me tell you about the person who nudged me into this work. I will tell you her backstory in 3 short paragraphs so you see the arc and the why behind these steps. She is representative of many people I meet. Margaret grew up in a small town by the sea, a girl who loved word games and the smell of her mother's kitchen. As a child, she memorized poems, played piano, and collected postcards. That early curiosity shaped how she approached life, always asking how and why. The taste of citrus and the sound of rain still anchor her to those first years. As a young adult, she trained as a nurse and later studied psychology. She moved cities, learned to balance night shifts and graduate classes, and built a life around care. Her hands learned to be gentle and precise. Over the years, she became the person friends called when a situation needed calm. Her sense of presence was a tool she relied on. In the last decade, she noticed slips. Names would vanish at the moment of introduction. She felt smaller in rooms that used to excite her. Her energy seemed oxidized. In clinic, she said to me, "I am afraid the part of me that loved learning is going." That honest sentence pushed us to experiment with simple daily habits that returned things she thought were lost. Now that you know Margaret's arc, let us name the 3 main assassins that quietly erode memory and clarity. Number 1 is chronic stress and high cortisol. When cortisol is elevated day after day, it shrinks the hippocampus and impairs encoding of new memories. Number 2 is cognitive monotony and lack of novelty. When you stop challenging the brain with new sensory patterns and tiny surprises, dopamine drops and learning circuits dull. Number 3 is social isolation and shallow interaction. Without oxytocin-rich connection, the brain loses the scaffolding that supports recall and emotional resilience. These 3 operate together like a slow fire. I have seen Carlos, Priya, and Daniel each under slightly different combinations of these killers. Carlos was busy and anxious, cortisol always high. Priya had a quiet routine devoid of novelty. Daniel had a wide social circle but felt surface level, so his oxytocin dips were frequent. The physiological effects are measurable. Cortisol imbalances, reduced neuroplasticity markers, lower dopamine response, and disrupted sleep architecture. Clinically, this looks like misplacing words, losing train of thought, or feeling mentally slow despite adequate sleep. If you recognize any of these, pause and write down which one feels most like you. Before we move into practical steps, I want to invite you to engage with the community. If one of these assassins hit home, comment below with the single word that describes your biggest challenge: stress, monotony, or isolation. Your comment helps others realize they are not alone and helps me decide which topics to expand in future episodes. Share a short sentence if you can. When Susan wrote simply "loneliness" last month, dozens of people replied and a real conversation began that led to a live workshop. These comments become resources. They allow us to tailor exercises to your reality. Now, let us move into the 4 daily practices that form the protocol. The first antidote is daily awe and curiosity. The goal is to create micro-experiences that break monotony and boost dopamine signaling. Here is the exercise and how to do it step by step. Step 1. Wake up and before reaching for your phone, take 60 seconds to notice something new in your environment. Look at the light on a wall, the sound of birds, the texture of a cup. Step 2. For 5 minutes, do a micro-learning task that is slightly challenging but playful. It can be a Step 3. Record one observation in a tiny notebook or a notes app. The sensory cues matter here. See the color of the sky, hear the distant traffic, smell the coffee, feel the cup's warmth, and taste one mindful sip. This combination of sensory input and novelty triggers small bursts of dopamine and engages neuroplasticity. I will describe a short dialogue to show how this played out with Margaret in the first week. She and I had the following exchange over a video call. "I do not have time for extra things," she said. "You only need 5 focused minutes," I answered. "But 5 minutes to learn what?" she asked. "A new word, a tune, a recipe step," I said. "I am afraid I will fail," she admitted. "That will be the work," I said, "to try and see what happens." "Okay, tomorrow I will do it," she promised. "Send me a note," I asked. "I will," she replied. "If I forget, will you remind me?" she wondered. "I will," I said, "and celebrate the attempt." That exchange contains 9 complete turns. You can hear the hesitation, the reassurance, the small commitment, and the coming back. Her voice softened. You could almost see the tension ease. The second practice is conscious movement. You do not need intense training to restore clarity. 5 minutes of deliberate, slow movement done with presence is enough to modulate cortisol and pump blood to networks that support attention. Try this routine. Stand with feet hip-width apart. Place a hand on your belly and close your eyes for 10 breaths. Notice the rise and fall. Gently turn your head to the left and right, feeling the stretch across the side of the neck. Lift your arms like you are scooping sunlight and then slowly lower them while counting to 6. Walk for 2 minutes at a mindful pace, noticing the feeling of shoes on the floor, the air against your skin, the faint hum of a nearby appliance, the distant conversation of neighbors, and the temperature at your face. This sensory list of sight, sound, touch, smell, and inner body awareness anchors presence. Studies on short bouts of mindful movement show immediate reductions in cortisol and improved working memory on simple tasks. Daniel reported that after 2 weeks of this routine, his ability to follow conversations at dinner improved and he felt less mentally foggy. Include at least 3 named friends in your practice notes. Invite Robert, Lena, or Omar to join a session and notice how the social element amplifies benefits. The third practice is fostering vulnerability and deep connection. Superficial chats do not produce oxytocin and do not strengthen the social scaffolding your memory relies on. Commit to one conversation per week that goes deeper. The exercise is simple. Choose a person you trust. Set aside 20 to 30 minutes. I have been thinking about something that surprised me lately. Would you share something that surprised you? Over time, these weekly rituals reshape social brain networks. Several participants in my group reported clearer memory for names and fewer blank moments after 3 months of weekly vulnerable talks. Now we come to mental hygiene and the nightly mental dump technique, the volcado nocturno, that clears working memory and improves sleep-dependent consolidation. The brain needs a clearing ritual to let go of day residues so the glymphatic-like clearance systems at night can do their job. Before bed, take 10 minutes to perform the volcado nocturno. Write down 3 things that worried you and 3 small wins from the day. Read them out loud to yourself in a neutral voice. Then do a 2-minute breathing exercise, focusing on exhalation and the sensation of breath leaving the chest. Avoid screens for 30 minutes after the dump. During the day, pause 3 times for 2 minutes each to notice 5 things with your senses: texture, color, sound, temperature, and taste. These micro-pauses interrupt cortisol surges and give your prefrontal cortex moments to reset. I will describe a tension moment to illustrate resistance to this step. For many people, the idea of writing worries feels like reliving them. One participant said, "Writing makes it permanent." We treat that concern gently. The volcado nocturno is not rumination. It is a neutral sorting. The exercise below shows how to convert the fear into a practice of release. Now, an important moment for you to participate. If you feel called to try one step tomorrow morning, write in the comments which one you will start with and why. If you tried something similar before, write what stopped you. Your participation matters. When people share small details, I adjust examples and the community benefits. This is the place where the theory meets your life, and that is where real change begins. I want to name a few characters you will meet across this approach. Margaret, who I introduced, Carlos, who struggled with anxiety, Priya, who had monotony, Daniel, who needed deeper connection, Susan, who started community practice, Omar, who led walks, Lena, who created a weekly club, Robert, who tracked his wins, and Elena, who tested the volcado nocturno. Each of these people made different mistakes, and each found small variations that worked. Hearing their responses helps you find what fits. Expect initial resistance. There are 3 moments of tension in this journey you should be aware of. The first is the fear of failure when trying novelty. You think you are too old to learn or that starting will prove you cannot. That voice is loud. It takes time and small wins to quiet it. The second tension is social awkwardness when you ask for vulnerability. People might close. That feels like rejection and can push you back into isolation. Persevere. The third tension is the impatience with slow progress. Memory is not a light switch. It is a muscle responding to daily practice. Each of these tensions is real, and each can be navigated with small steps, accountability, and compassion. Now, here is a realistic 30, 60, 90-day plan to implement the 4 practices. Week 1. Mornings, commit to the 5-minute awe practice for 6 days and do 1 volcado nocturno on day 7. Week 2. Add 3 mindful movement sessions of 5 minutes on alternate days and a 20-minute vulnerable conversation on the weekend. Weeks 3 and 4, keep the morning awe every day and increase movement to 5 days per week with 2 mental pauses each day. Month 2. Maintain daily awe, make the weekly deep conversation a ritual with a cue, such as pee, and use the volcado nocturno 3 nights a week. Start tracking small wins and invite 1 friend to join. Month 3. Expand novelty by adding a new mini skill each week and measure changes with a short memory task, such as remembering 3 words after 5 minutes. Expect noticeable improvements in clarity and mood in 30 days, more consistent recall in 60 days, and deeper changes in social ease and energy by 90 days. Rules for adherence. Choose one practice to anchor the day. Do not try to change everything at once. Pair the new habit with something you already do, such as making coffee or washing your face. And celebrate attempts rather than perfection. Before I close, I will give you 3 brief tension vignettes so you can recognize them and act. First vignette. The phone alarm rings and you decide to check messages instead of doing the 5-minute practice. The thought, "I will do it later," becomes the habit of never starting. The remedy, set a simple physical barrier, such as leaving your phone in another room. Second vignette. You ask for a deeper conversation and your friend responds with a joke. That can sting. The remedy is to name that you wanted depth and invite them again, or choose someone else who is ready. Third vignette. You do the vocado nocturno and find new worries you did not expect. The remedy is to write them down and pick one small step to address tomorrow. These small adjustments keep you moving forward. Let us summarize the practical steps so you can act tonight. Practice 1. Daily awe and curiosity for 5 minutes in the morning. Practice 2 conscious movement for 5 to 10 minutes twice a day as you can. Practice 3 1 weekly vulnerable conversation lasting 20 to 30 minutes. Practice 4 nightly mental hygiene with the vocado nocturno and 3 daytime 2-minute pauses. Start with one practice and add the others slowly. Keep a simple log with dates, 1 sentence about sensory details, and 1 small win. Share your journey with a friend or in the comments so we can build momentum together. If this approach resonates, please subscribe to follow more episodes that break down each practice in depth. Share this video with someone you care about who might be feeling foggy. In 1 month, you may notice clearer mornings. In 3 months, you could remember names more easily. In 6 months, you might find your days feel richer and your energy vital again. I will close with a personal note. I have tried these steps with many people, and with small daily investments, they reported feeling younger in their mind even as their bodies aged. That shift is not denial of aging. It is choosing how you inhabit your years. You will age no matter what. You get to choose how lucid and engaged you will be. Start with 1 5-minute practice tomorrow morning and notice what changes. If you implement it, leave a brief comment below telling us which practice you started and 1 sensory detail you noticed. Together, we will learn which variations work best for our community. Thank you for spending this time. Remember, youth is not a number. It is an ongoing choice to create moments of awe, to move with presence, to connect with vulnerability, and to clear your mind every night so memory can rebuild.